Welcome back to the channel. We're going over the SP 500, the Nasdaq 100, exactly what's happening today. We have some big news coming out tomorrow regarding data that is going to affect exactly how we're moving. We're not going to waste any time at all. Before we get into that, actually consider doing two things: liking and subscribing. I'm posting videos every single day, as you can see, giving you the breakdowns into the market, what I'm looking at, and key indicators as well. We're going to get right into exactly what we're doing, what's happening with this market as well. Look at the S&P 500, very boring day to say the least. You opened up with a nice boom to the downside, going to about 378, which was that support zone we had mentioned yesterday as well. One thing to say about this as well is if you drag this out a little bit further, you can see this was your previous highs from when you pushed down to these local lows at around 360 total. You came back, touch, you broke back above, and look, this is how this works, people. If you zoom out, price action 101, you're going to get that break to the downside. Boom. Once you remount that level, you came back, you retest. This is decision time. Typically, this is bullish. I'm not going to lie. Typically, when you get this retest, this is your buying opportunity. A retest of that support is going to be a buying opportunity. But what's going on tomorrow? We got some big stuff happening tomorrow. Early in the morning, we have jobless claims. So I'm not going to lie. Don't even care about that anymore. Jobs come out pretty bad the past like 3 weeks, and apparently no one cares. So, I mean, if they come out good, it's going to be good for the market. But, you know, I don't see it affecting it in a negative way just because on the past few negative runs, nothing's really happened to the downside. But PCE inflation, 8:30 a.m., I believe that is Eastern time. When this comes out, 7:30, an hour before market opens, all you need to know. That's going to be big. That's going to be a big mover in my opinion. And if we come down to what happened on the day, I want to be very clear and, you know, not waste your time whatsoever. As we look at this, one, we had very minimal volume. You can see what happened here on the chain here. Very minimal all day long, really dead in that middle of the day type of area. You had a double bottom as well on the S&P right here around 378. Double bottom, come back to that daily open, rejected every single time where you opened up on the day, actually on the S&P. So that's worth mentioning as well. Lots of chop, no movement, not really a great trading area. You're not getting that action. So what am I looking at going into tomorrow? I'm going to be very clear. I'm not even going to waste your time. We're not even going to go too much further into the video before I tell you what I'm looking at. Now, I believe if PCE data comes out at all flat, if it beats, if it's better than expected, I anticipate some really nice upside. Going back to the Nasdaq, I want to show you the NQ, show you my specific targets. So we're just going to go to NQ, go to the futures. Now, futures, you're very similar movement, holding right there at 11.7 on Nasdaq. If you get good PCE data, I see us going back to locally 12,000. I could see this being a very good day with the right data. It all comes back down to how good does data come out, okay, people? That's what matters here. It doesn't matter anything else. It matters, does data come out good for the bull thesis? If data comes out bad, so far, if we hold another day below 11.7, I'm very bearish. I think you will push back down to about 11.35, 11.4. That is my target if we continue on this downward path and we continue underneath this brutal support. So if we stay down this support for another day, I anticipate massive downside back to around 11.35, which will be very good for the S&P. And if you know the S&P 500, we're going to go back to what's happening there with SPY, just going back to show you an overall target. I would anticipate downside if we go to 11.3 on Nasdaq, that you hit local levels around this right here, about 370, 371. It'd be pretty much some immediate downside to about this level as well right there. That's what I'm looking at on indexes. Nothing else to really talk about there. Again, very clear. What am I saying? Okay, right? So if we come out tomorrow, data is mediocre at best. It just gets us by. I anticipate upside. If it comes out bad, if inflation continues to grow, then I anticipate downside to around 371. That's how I'm looking at the market. End of the day, there was no real trading opportunities. The only real trade that we had on the day was this one right here. We had J Ream coming out this morning. He's talking about NVIDIA puts 150 out of the gate, $1.67. Those things ended up running past $2.80 within about 10-20 minutes. That was the trade of the day. That's all we really had going. I had a Caterpillar trade that ended up about break even. Nothing really going on there. So even on the day, all you had for that real great action was that immediate downside. From there, nothing was really happening. But I do want to highlight, looking at some of these stocks, NVIDIA, you're breaking those major lows. Once you broke 155, boom, it was instantaneous down to 152. You know, that's why we love some of these plays, and you're still sitting below those levels. PayPal, you're back down at these lows. You're very, very low. I'm sorry if you can hear my son, he's going ballistic in the background. He's very hyped up about this birthday dinner for a girl. We're cooking it up right now. So, but I got to get this in for you guys so you can see exactly what we're looking at here in the market. You can see PayPal back down at these lows. You're seeing a lot of your favorite stocks getting killed. Apple, really big downside. You even gapped down a little bit this morning, but then you bounced back very nice. One of the few stocks, Apple and Microsoft, performed pretty well. Going back to something like Meta, did not. Going into something like Tesla, it did not. So you're seeing some of your staple names held up, but a lot of these ended up on the downside. Some of the only good names I could say out there were Amazon, Apple, and Microsoft. Besides that, everything looked very bad on the day. So again, inflation numbers tomorrow are very big and something that you need to be watching out for. Nasdaq below 11.7, very bearish if this continues for another day. SPY, if it gets below this range and holds below 380 again, I'm very bearish once again. So as long as you stay in this trend, I'm anticipating downside. Depending on this data though, the data tomorrow is going to really set the tone. Let's go into a little bit about what's happening with the overall going on the options chain. If you look here, today's been one of the more bullish days in my opinion. Going to the S&P, this was sitting up 0.9 all day. It just got to 1.0 in the after hours. But calls have been the strong side. You can still see there's more calls than there are puts. Going over to Qs, same thing. Calls are stronger than puts. But this is the only thing that I think people are hedging with is when it comes to VIX. People are betting very heavily for the first time in a while on VIX. There's a lot of call flow. There's a lot going on here. So in my opinion, VIX is a hedge. But people do expect PCE to kind of come out flat. Now, is this from what's happening with the Fed? Is this what's happening from their statements? Or is this a correlation of what happens when our government and our Fed says inflation isn't real? Possibly. It possibly is. Going over to junk. Junk bonds have been a pretty big indicator as well. We've gone over this quite a bit. Going into all day yesterday, we saw that massive downside on junk bonds. What happened here? You kind of came down and you're still negative on the day, but you tried to make a rounded bottom. So I'm kind of optimistic going into this. And the one thing that I will continue to say, if data comes out good, just beats, just a little bit better than we expect, I think we're going to have a monstrous upside day. However, I do think a recession is still around the corner. I think that there's heavy chances that we have some downside in the coming future. But what I'm going to say right now is that based on this data and stuff, this is where I'm sticking, and I have to be playing it by ear every single day. And that's what I'm watching for with this indicator here. Another thing to mention is yields got slapped today. Yields were going down. So, am I saying we're going to a bull market? No. Am I saying there's possibility of a little bit of a rally? I am. So again, I want to be very, very clear. This data comes out an hour before open. You're going to actually see the futures move most likely before open. Trade the trend, people. Trade the trend. What does that mean? When you get the breakout. So if we go back to SPY, I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm trying to keep this extremely simple for everyone, right? If you come out in the pre-market, you're pushing up here on SPY, about 384, 385. Trade it to the upside, people. We're targeting the same zone right here. You're expecting you to come right back up to 388, 390 in a hurry. That's what you want to see. That's where you're expecting us to go. If you start trading to the downside, you get bad data, then guess what? Trade it to the downside, 370, 371. That's where you're targeting. Do not overcomplicate it. I'm telling you, when you break out of these ranges, it's clear trend city and you're getting your answers every single time. So make sure you're watching all these key indicators. So I'm going to keep you guys updated again every single day to make sure you keep coming back and you're getting your time's worth when you come to this channel. Biggest things I'm looking at tomorrow. Let me break it down. Some stocks I am liking. Now, first I'm going to go over one. We got MU. They have earnings. This is a semiconductor. Semiconductors are absolutely getting torched. SOXX. You can see they've really been getting slapped. They have earnings coming in Thursday afternoon, so that's going to be pretty soon. I'm not holding through earnings. Tyler, what are you looking for then? Make it very clear. I'm anticipating some upside into the earnings. I think you could easily retest around 57. Possibly even 58 right here. So I would be targeting this to the upside if you get any type of good data. It could also, if it goes completely parabolic and data really starts running and Nasdaq and indexes keep running, I'd be targeting a double top at least of 60.5. That's in the works as well. So you can be looking at this whole overall sector, NVDA, AMD, they're all really beat up, but MU does have earnings and they have a history of absolutely destroying earnings. So definitely keep them on your radar. Another play I'm going to mention is going to be Caterpillar. Now, personally, I still am bearish on this whole sector of XLI, which is the industrials, and they've been getting pretty beat up. Now, you remember me talking about John Deere. John Deere had a pretty nasty run back upside. Remember, I said if you broke 308, get the shorts immediately. You dumped immediately back down to around 295. Well, you broke back up, broke back below. Guess what? You're back down at 300 in a hurry. No one's really talking about this. You have this really great run back to the upside on a lot of these stocks, but they're all back down at those lows. So I'm looking at Caterpillar really right here. And again, if we have upside, I'm not looking to trade Cat, but if you have downside, I'm looking for more downside and a double bottom coming all the way down here to around 175, 176. That's what I'd be targeting. And you have a nice little gap there as well. So I would keep that on your charts as well because you have that nice bear flag. So again, you're looking at Caterpillar. If you have downside, target number one, it's gonna be around 179, 180. Target number two, around 176 to 175. That's what I'd be looking at on this one. Now, the last one's going to be Tesla. This is obviously, everyone knows, one of my favorite stocks to talk about. Tesla's been interesting. And if I'm looking at this, I'm looking at it either way. I'm looking at it either way. It's not necessarily bearish, not necessarily bullish. Now, if I look at it just from a technical standpoint, in my opinion, you are bearish. And I would be targeting this range down here to around 655. Why? Because you got that break below 685, you retest it, and now you're anticipating downside pressure. However, if data comes out strong, again, we anticipate upside pressure, but you're going to have really good things happening here because you're probably going to retest 700 and struggle there and then continue all the way up to around 750. So you're going to have entry opportunities on that direction as well. If you have downside, you're clearly looking for 650 and then a breakdown for that local bottom as well to around 635 all the way down to around 626. So you're gonna have a really nice big block range down there as well. So you need to be looking out this. So what am I looking at? People are gonna say, Tyler, you're talking about both sides. What are you talking about? What am I looking for specifically on Tesla? Let me be very, very clear. Now, if you're looking at Tesla for the downside, again, extremely clear, giving you the trade right here. What I'd be looking for, playing very conservative. I would wait for this to get down here, break these lows. You break these lows here, you're trading at 1 to 653, 650, but I anticipate very quick movement back down to 630 as well. That's what I'd be looking for there. So again, give two take profit zones going on there. If you have upside pressure, I think this has immediate strength. And once you get a break above 700, I would be targeting locally 735 and then 750, 755 locally, which is that monthly level as well. I anticipate a pretty volatile day coming quickly on Tesla because it's had two of its least volatile days overall. On the past day, you've moved from 690 down to around 668, about a $20 move there. On Monday, you went from around 750 to lows of about 725. Again, a very low moving day there. You had a bit of movement going into Tuesday, but again, you're due for a very big and volatile day coming into Tesla. And also, no one's really been hearing about Elon Musk, which again adds some more skepticism and more volatility, most likely coming in here as well. I again anticipate a lot of volatility. Look at VIX. This thing is just chilling at $28. A year ago, if you were chilling at $28 in VIX, people would be panicking. You are sitting at a very high volatility range when it comes to this. And in my opinion, this is ready for a big day incoming, specifically on indexes with some of our favorite stocks. Have a good one, traders.